So Tibor, all right. Thank you very much for being available here. And objective of this podcast for me is two. First is I want to learn as much as possible from sales expert like you. At the same time, I want to help the people, those who want to make a career move in the sales and marketing and business development. Because what I believe that a guy like me who study engineering, then he become manager. In the end, what happens after 20 years? What will happen? Company will tell me, "Hey, Bob, you go to America and sell this technology." And what I feel, if we don't have that competence, that relational competence, that real confidence to talk with a C-suite level executive, I think that knowledge, I don't know how much that would help. So my first question to you, Tibor, is this: like you say that sales is all about execution and rest is just a talk. So please comment on that first.
Well, again, execution is about doing things, and there's a lot of theories in sales, and there's a lot of great conversations in sales, and there's a whole bunch of people who have done a lot of writing and talking about sales, but they've never actually done a sale. So I think when it comes down to execution, I forget who it is that said it, but your plans really meet the test of time when they hit reality. So, I think until you actually do it, it really is just theory. And unfortunately, quotas and revenue are not theory; they're real.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And here, Tibor, I would like to give you a very practical example, because I think this is our first interaction, and what you write and what you do, it's very much synchronizing. I give a very small example. The point of this is my first talk with sales expert like you. I have sent few requests to several people, and no one really answered. And the time I send you the message, I think you answer very enthusiastically. And I think this is the real. I'm not saying like you were interested, but I think it's something like how our mind is really trained, like to take the action for constructive things.
Or I think it answers your previous question, execution versus talk. So people like to talk about how they use LinkedIn to interact and engage with people, but it's bullshit, because when put to the test, they don't. They just put their advertising and marketing and all that out there. But then, someone like you reaches out and they ignore it because they probably looked at your profile and
Right.
probably saw that you're not worth any money to them.
Right.
So they didn't react, right? So I don't know how much money you're worth to me. I doubt anything, but every conversation is a learning experience.
Right, right. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And Thibaut, okay, what you say about execution? In reality, it's nothing new. We all know that execution is everything. We all know, but even though when it comes to take the concrete action, it doesn't work that way. Why our mind is wired like this? Like what we need to do? What advice you would like to give to me or to salespeople to take that action?
Well, I'm not a psychologist, so I don't know what advice I can give you, but I can tell you that, very few people, if any, have died trying what I do. So, the idea is that it's not just salespeople. I think it's human nature that we're reluctant to try new things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if something, especially if you're a salesperson and it's sort of working okay and you're getting close to quota, some years you get over quota, some years you get under quota,
Right.
I think people are reluctant in general to try new things.
Mm-hmm.
Every salesperson knows what they have to do. And then they're faced with a choice, right? And as I say, I'm not a scientist, but I remember in grade 12 biology,
Right.
they said that everybody has the X chromosome, right?
Uh-huh.
Women have XY, we have XX, or whatever the thing is. I did fail grade 12 biology. But
Right.
we both have the X chromosome, right?
Okay.
So the question becomes, are you going to execute or are you going to use it to make excuses? Because
Mm-hmm.
most salespeople will make excuses as to why they don't want to execute. The ones who seem to make quota, they execute. It may not always be pretty. It may get bruised up, but they learn and they improve and they execute differently the next time. So I think salespeople especially, are hung up on perfection. They want to wait until it's perfect. And life is not perfect, and you could end up waiting for it to just pass you by. So I think, part of execution is sort of doing what Nike said, and that's just do it. And as long as it's legal and as long as it's ethical and you're not hurting another human being, I don't see what you have to lose.
Right. And in that regard, I want to put a small practical example here. What I'm learning from it, Tibor. For example, in order to start this first discussion with you, I thought several times. I was thinking about how it will be recorded and what webcam I need to buy, and time passed away. Like 3 months, 4 months, or 1 year just passed, and I was just thinking, I was just in my mind, I was just in the thought. And one day I said, no, it's not going anywhere. Let me just fix that target. I would say, let me be accountable, because the point of this, if I'm inviting Tibor to talk with me, and I need to be present there. And in order to present there, I need to be very disciplined. I need to cut my another appointment and be present here. And this is the reason, I'm very happy to talk with you here. That's
to be here as well. So what do you sell?
Well, okay, Tibor, a little bit about me and about my company. As a company, we build ERP system, enterprise resource planning software for textile company. And
textile companies?
Textile manufacturing companies, like those who manufacture, let's say, fiber, yarn, and we build technology for those companies. And my role is to sell this technology, this software to various countries where there are textile companies. So what happens the time I need to sell this technology to other countries, it's very difficult to sell. I know selling is always complicated, but when it's come to selling idea, when it's come to selling non-tangible thing, it's really very difficult. And I would also like to know your views, in order to sell non-tangible thing, what we need to take into consideration, like how to build that first trust to people, those who don't know you, or not something like you who are ready to help you out.
So I tend to sort of disagree, and that's not to be controversial, but I think that selling intangibles, for me, I can understand why you're saying it, but because I've never sold a tangible, I've always sold a service or a concept, right? I've always found it easier to sell the intangible because I find products too limiting. They're a box, right? You get put in this box and you got to make sense out of this box. And I just find that too limiting. But to answer your question, I think that's also forced me to have a different kind of conversation with my clients. And that conversation is about where they want to be in the future. Because everybody has, some objectives, and, you're selling ERP, so you know about planning and long-term planning and the things that go into it. I don't have to explain to you the challenges of resource management, resource acquisition, and things along those lines, right? So knowing that, that there's a lot of possibilities for things to go right, and there's some possibilities for things to go wrong. So now the question is, if you're an expert and if you know your industry, not just your product, a lot of people know their product, but they have no idea how it fits into the industry. They just know what it says in the brochure, right? If you understand your industry, then you can begin to talk about how these things impact their business. So not so much about how they build a window or how they build a suit to bring it into your environment, but how that suit then is going to help them make money and beat the competition, maybe open new markets. Maybe you're going to be talking to some guy in Spain who's looking to export to Asia. So things along those lines. So if you talk to somebody in Spain who's had pretty good success in Europe and is now ready to sell into Asia or China, right? And you talk to them about that and what the opportunities are and how you might be able to take advantage of the opportunities. That's a much better conversation for a business person than to talk about the specifics of your product. Now, once they're convinced that you actually understand their market and can actually help them, expand into Asia and make more money because there's more margins in Asia or whatever the case might be, then you're in a position to talk to them about things other than the product. You don't have to worry about it. So once they take you on as a subject matter expert, because you're not talking about your product, you're talking about business, they're going to give you a lot more information. Because remember, the 5, 6, 7 salespeople that were there before you, who all they talk about is product, they've geared this person to expect that the next person that's going to come in is going to talk about product. But if you can talk to them about their business, and you can talk to them about how other companies that you worked with were able to expand into Asia, and they were able to avoid certain pitfalls, and they were able to accelerate certain local things, then you have much greater value than your product. And frankly, as long as your product works, they'll probably buy it.
Right, and I totally agree with you. Once we are talking with, then I put you my practical example. Once we are talking with the C-level executive, they are not really very much interested in I would say nut and bolts, or in deep programming, how technology is built or what database is used. They are very much interested at a strategic level. I would say at holistic level, how technology can really help them to meet their business needs. Because what happens, Tibor, in our case, it happened several times. I invited many clients from Asia, from Central America, to see our technology here in Italy. And the time we do demo, like there are the technical engineer, my boss, those who are very much competent in textile field because they work 40 years in this area, so they know many things. But the time it's a dialogue with the client. Client really get very easily bored what they are saying, and the time I present them at, how to call it, like a holistic picture of this ERP technology, the client become interested. Yes, you are totally right. And in this case, I would like to ask you, what I need to improve, what as a salesperson, how to facilitate that business discussion with the client, like what I need to learn, what salespeople like us need to learn, those who really not very much technically sound in the product, but they are salespeople.
Learn their business. I mean, at the end of the day, you're messing with their business. It's not about the product. An ERP, you probably have your tentacles into all elements of their business, from manufacturing to financial, supply chain. So you're going to mess with their business, right? So it's like you're going to go over there and play with their daughter, so you're going to have to do everything that you do when you go and see your girlfriend's father. You're going to have to make sure that they understand your intent and what you're going to do and how you're going to look after it and everything like that. So I think you need to be able to have a business conversation. So when people ask me, what sales book they should buy, their salespeople, they always expect that I'm going to say, buy my book, which I think you should. But really the one that you should buy is the 10-day MBA. Because
10 days MBA.
Because as smart as your boss is, and he was in the industry, the question I would ask your boss is, did he ever run a textile company? Because if he didn't, then he doesn't really know what the other guy is thinking. He just thinks he knows what the other guy is thinking. Because he only ran this part of the company. The guy he's talking to is running the whole company. So if you want to have that vision, you're going to need. So I'm not minimizing the expertise that your boss brings. But I think there's a lot of people in sales who come from the industry, but they know a very limited part of that industry. And when you talk about supply chain, which you have to if you're ERP, I mean, if if you're in the textile business, I mean, you've got stuff that suit you're wearing probably has fabric from one continent, buttons from another, this, that, and the other, and it's probably like contract packers along the way and things along those ways. So, that's all business, man. It's not software and things like that. So if you can talk to that, I would be willing to say, and I'll take a bet from anybody, that if you sat down with a CEO and you showed him a way that they can achieve their objectives better,
Right.
They could care less how you do it. It doesn't have to be the latest and shiniest technology. What they
Right.
care
Right.
about is the outcome. And if you can show them that you can raise their profits by 3%,
Right.
as long as it's legal, as
Right.
long as it's clean and ethical, I don't
Right.
think they really care.
Right.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I know if somebody came to me and said, I can increase your profit margin without you going to
Yeah.
jail, I'd
Right.
listen.
Right. Right.
But can I ask you a question?
Yes, please.
Why are you obsessed with the C-suite?
Okay, it's a good question, and because what in our business, what happens the time I present technology to client, there are always decision makers. There are operation managers there, supply chain directors there, maybe production managers there, and also CEO is there. Reason is this, because first thing is because the technology, what we sell connects everything. Connects
Let me ask you a question.
Right.
If there were two companies bidding for the business, right?
Mm-hmm.
One was you, right?
Right.
And
Right.
one was your biggest competitor.
Right.
And all those managers and directors that you just said
Right.
were for the other company. They felt that the other company had a better ERP.
Right.
The CEO sort of liked your ERP, right?
Right.
Which one do you think they're going to choose?
Logically, CEO need to decide. They are gonna follow CEO what he says.
Yeah, but which one do you think he's going to choose?
If the CEO likes our technology, they are gonna choose us.
No, they're not, because they're not the ones that are working with it. The CEO cares about the outcome. Like you said earlier in this very podcast, you can go back and listen to it.
Right.
They don't touch it. They don't play with it. They don't do anything with it. Right? Somebody else does. What they get is the output. They get the numbers, they get the reports, they get the stuff that they make decisions around. But they're not going to make a decision as to whether you get this calculator or that calculator, because they could give a shit. What they care about is the output, right? So if you're a smart CEO and you're going to look at this logically, you're going to go, my team is enamored with that piece of software. I like this one, but I'm never going to touch it. They're the ones that have to work with it. I rely on them to give me the reports that I make business decisions with. I'm going to buy the one that they're going to work with.
Correct.
If I'm a smart CEO.
Right. And
so why are you obsessed with the C-suite?
No, I'm saying like if I say C-suite, because most of the time,
because it's fashionable in sales, but beyond
that,
yes,
you are totally right. That's one of that's one of very honest answer. Yes, it's very much fashionable. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yes.
You know, fashion doesn't always make money, except for the guy who makes the fashion, right?
Right. That's very much true. That's very much true. Yes. And I would also like to ask you about prospecting, because okay,
because every salesperson loves to do it.
Are you sure every salesperson loves to do it?
That's what they tell me.
I don't know if we love to do it, but like we do it. We have to do it. It's our bread and butter. But that would be great.
That's why there's so many skinny salespeople, right?
Right. If we really love to do it, that would be really great. And if we really enjoy it. So my question is this, Tibor. Okay, our technology is very expensive. Like it starts from let's say $500,000 to 1 million euros or dollars, more or less. That's the figure. And we need to talk always to production manager, like the people, those who have been working in the industry from past 20 years. They know process, they have experience, they dealt with many people, etc. So how to do that strategic prospecting? Like what would you suggest people like us to do that effective prospecting?
So first of all, they've been on the job for 40 years, right?
20 years.
Yeah. So is that 40 years of continuous improvement and growth, or is that the same year 40 times over?
I can't answer. I don't know.
Hang on, I lost your
Yeah,
thing
please.
there.
Right.
Lost your sound. Don't go away.
Yeah.
There you go. So yeah.
Uh-huh.
So the question is, did they have 40 years of continuous straight line improvement, or did they sort of have a couple of years, hey, this is cool, and then for the last 38 years they've been like this?
Right. I can't answer. I don't know. Everyone says who's in industry, I have 40 years, 20 years experience. I have been working.
And everybody you ask if they make decisions will tell you they make decisions, right?
Right.
The janitor will tell you they make decisions. Mm-hmm. I think I make decisions. Ask my wife and she'll tell you that I don't, right? So, so again, this thing with the C-suite and all that. But to your point, to your question about prospecting, can you say to them, I think it's the same thing that you would say to them during a discovery call. It's no different. It's part of the same process. So again, when I prospect, I share the future that I've been able to help other companies achieve. And if that future resembles the future that they want to achieve, then there's a chance that they're going to speak with me. But if you call up and say that we're the #1 software company and we do this, that, and the other, nobody gives a shit. I mean, and this other thing about being expensive, 400,000, 500,000, I understand. It's a bit different than selling a Big Mac, but they're going to spend that money anyway. It's not like, do we buy the ERP or do we put the money in the bank? It's more a question of which ERP we buy, right?
Right.
So it's not like ERP or no ERP. It's more like #1 or #2, right?
Right.
So the fact that you're 500,000 really doesn't make a difference because they're going to have to spend that money anyway. So if you were going to somebody who's doing their business on paper, and all of a sudden you say, "Bye, you got to spend $100,000," they're going to die. But these guys who are already using ERP software, who know that they have to spend, and I got to figure you got to be slightly cheaper than SAP. So, so I don't think you should get hung up on the money because in their head, they're spending the money. It's a question of where they spend it. So I don't think you should get all hung up on the fact that it's expensive. Is it worth it?
But okay, but here is the point, Tibor. What the problem? What I face in my work. Okay, I do prospecting. I call many people, many how to call it, intermediary person who sell machinery to these clients. And the biggest client is the same. If he need machinery, he would need technology as well. And through these people, I approach to these companies. But the point is this: most of the time, what happens? I approach many people, but maybe they don't need technology. Maybe they are just curious to know what we do, or maybe they tell me, okay, send me the documentation, Bob. Send me one registration of your demo, and then we will see. And then I call them. They say, send me another one, and it never cycle never finished. So, but what I learned from your talk, what you are saying. In order to make that sale, there need to be a core demand, and I need to verify it from the beginning very well.
No, there needs to be a core demand, but I think you can create it. Like if you're waiting for them to happen, like this is, with all due deference, I hear what you're saying a lot, and there's a difference between order taking and selling. If you're looking to find the perfect person who's ready to buy in the next 6-7 months or so, they probably arrived at that conclusion on their own. And let's face it, we're not selling at that point. We're taking orders, right? We tell them how things are different. We tell them what kind of price discount we can give them and da-da-dee-da-dee-da-da. But at the end of the day, we're taking orders. We didn't do anything to make that guy get off the sideline, right? So if that's what you're looking for, it's an entirely different game because you got to go through a lot of opportunities because only about 10% of the market is going to be looking at any given time, right? About 20% figures, maybe next year I got to buy something, so I want to be informed, but I'm not that interested. So these people who are taking stuff from you, and this is the problem because probably the things you're sending them have to do with product, right? But they're not thinking about product because they don't give a shit about the product till next year. Right now, they're thinking about business process. If I was going to buy a product a year from now, what are the things that I should be thinking about today? And most salespeople, because they're looking for that 10%, as soon as they get a live body and they say, send me information, instead of sending them the right information, they send them information that they don't need for a year. So the guy looks at it and goes, this guy doesn't get me. I'm not talking to him anymore. And that's why you end up chasing him for the next 6 years, because you blew the first chance.
Okay. But in order to make that first, how do you call that first?
You have to work.
Okay, but I put it like this, Tibor, and this is also human psychology. And it happens in my case. If I find in the beginning, I was sending, if someone asked me documentation, I send whatever I have. But now, because there is a possibility. There's a possibility.
What's the yeah. How many have called you back? Okay,
0.
so 0 possibilities. Okay.
Yes, but
I wouldn't stick with that plan.
Right.
I'd like the plan that at least has 1% possibility, but you just told me 0, so it's not a good plan. So stop sending.
But here I have a question. Okay, so in order to how to call it, to fill my funnel, then what salesperson like me need to do every day to find in the future there maybe we can find right client, or we just sit and we just read on LinkedIn and that's all?
Well, I don't think you just wait on LinkedIn, but I mean, you're asking a big question, and we're running into the end of the hour here on this podcast, but there's nothing new out there. It's like, the expression, I don't know if it translates, but the wheel has been invented. It's just a question of how you spin it, right?
Right.
So again, you're looking for a silver bullet, and there isn't one. My answer is one that people don't like, which is you have to work. I used to own, and I think I still own, I have to look at it, I own the domain sales is a blue collar job. I don't know if that translates, but there's white collar and blue collar. And the blue collar is a physical job. You have to work hard, you have to lift things. Well, you have to do that in sales too, like you have to get some work. If you're going to sit around and wait for LinkedIn, forget it. But if you looked at LinkedIn and saw the conversations that people are having and pinpointed a few of them, and then maybe sent a letter to one and maybe picked up the phone and talked to the other one and created a conversation that may be of interest to them based on their future as opposed to your quota, you may find it a bit different.
Okay.
But the great thing about being on podcasts like this is that people can then come and follow me and do the things that I do. And you're asked about prospecting. I'm just about to launch the Proactive Prospecting Club, which is a place for people who are, prospectors who want to get inputs and insight and answer all the questions you were asking me. They can come, and right now it's just being built, but in July we're launching Proactive Prospecting .club, not .com, but .club.
Club, okay.
Come visit. We have all kinds of resources for prospectors. A lot of your questions will be answered.
Right.
And it's all there for the taking.
Great. And Tibor, one other question, and then I would also like the last question to you.
You need to make them fast, because I have to go at the top of the hour. So yes, what's the question?
Right. You say also about authority, like with the time you are talking with the client, the time you send them voice message, you need to be very authoritative. So can you please show some light on it? Because the time we talk with the client, always we feel that we are smaller and he has authority. We need to sell, we need to respect rules, we have to behave in a certain way. Just tell me a little bit about that.
I haven't worked with a company that isn't better off as a result of having worked with me. So that's my authority. I know what I bring to the table. I know how I help companies. I can demonstrate how I help companies. I can bring live people who will talk about how I change their companies. So if I have that confidence that I can help this person, then, I act that way. And it's the oldest cliche in sales, but it works. When the doctor asks you questions, you answer, right? And the reason you answer is because you buy into his authority and expertise, right? So if you present yourself, the questions that you ask, because with all due deference, if you ask the typical sales questions that most people will lead with, what you're telling the guy is that you're a typical sales guy and he should talk to you like you're a typical sales guy. But if you can differentiate yourself by actually understanding their business and talking to them about their business and things like that, all of a sudden they share more information with you, which allows you to be more authoritative. But that's the work that you have to do. You have to go out there and talk to them about stuff that they want to talk about. And when you get to that, you have authority because now you're a peer. But if you go in there and try and make every conversation about your product, you know, I had a guy on my podcast the other day, and every question I asked him, it was all about him. There was nothing the audience got out of that interview other than all about him, right? So, you know, again, make it about the customer and you'll have authority. If you make it about yourself, if you go in there and talk, you know, product, and I'll close on this. The customer asked you to send and you sent, right?
Right.
You know what you just told them? You're no different than the last guy.
Okay, correct. It makes, yes, it's very good.
Till next time.
Great lesson for me. Yes. Okay, so Tibor, you know, where can we find about yourself? Like a little bit about my friends who would like to know you more.
TiborShanto.com, TiborShanto.com. Or if they can't wait, just pick up your phone and it's +1 416 822 7781.
Great. Okay. So thank you very much, Tibor. And
thank you. It's been fun. I enjoyed it.
I learned a lot from you. And thank you once again. I would like to talk to you in future again. Thank you.
Stay in touch.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Cheers. Bye.